everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I'm Gary Mack, and I'm joined as usual, except when I've been out lately. But the great Rich Baxter is here and carrying the torch when I'm not around. Rich, thanks so much, and how the heck are you?
Thanks so much, Gary. Doing great. I'm glad to have you back this week. I had to think to myself a little bit before we started today. Did we miss last week? Because it just seemed like a long, long time with no baseball. We had no agreement into effect until just recently, a couple days ago. We reached the agreement. So how you feeling about that?
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm a little wishy washy about the whole thing, I guess, because getting over the whole lockout and the negotiations and then looking at the final results, they could have settled this thing a long time ago. They've practically met in the middle for all the issues anyway. So but I'll get into it as it goes on. You get involved in other things and that we've chatted about, and your head's kind of in there. But I've noticed that when I can, I've been creeping over to MLB Network to see if there was any news or anything like that. So I'll get into it. It just takes a while. How about you?
Yeah, I feel ambivalent about it as well, I guess is a good term to describe it. I was happy to see that they reached the settlement. And I kind of anticipated a settlement because I was watching the MLB network the day before it was settled, and those guys were on a fever pitch. You could tell that they had some sort of insider feeling that this thing was going to be over because, just about every one of them was so optimistic about this thing ending finally. And as you said, it wasn't earth shattering movements that did it. I think, in the end, if you went by how it voted, the MLB players didn't go along with their representatives. The representatives
Yeah.
voted no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you're in a union and your representative votes no and you go against them, that's sort of like kind of strange.
Yeah, that was one of the strange things that the whole executive council, as you said, the representative voted no, but the teams voted yes apparently, and maybe there's a little schism there, Rich. Maybe the younger guys on some of these teams said, wait a second, these guys are established and they're making $1 million a year and we just want to play baseball. There were four teams that voted no as well, and I'm ashamed to say that my Mets was one of them. It was the Mets, the Yankees, the Astros, and
St.
the
Louis.
Cardinals voted
Yeah.
no. But thankfully, there was sanity in the other 26 teams in the league that voted yes. So, interestingly enough, it was a split. Two American and two National League teams didn't like it. I thought you might see more National League teams because of the universal DH, but no, the cooler heads prevailed, and we have baseball, and it was nice to see some highlights yesterday. Guys throwing a baseball and getting loose and fielding and taking batting practice. So we're getting there.
Yes, we are. We're getting there really fast. And as you said, it's mandatory reporting day as of the time we're doing this podcast on Sunday, March 13th. So they didn't give them long to get to Florida and Arizona. And I'm happy for that. I expected like a week delay before they all had to report, but they don't have time for that now. It's
Yeah.
just, short time, and that's fine. The shame of it all is still like people that maybe wanted to go down and see spring training. Now they might not be able to because of the short timing that it's going to be held down there. And it's spring break down there, so all the colleges are jammed up. in the Florida area right now, you probably couldn't get down there if you wanted to get a room or a
Mm,
car.
yeah, that's true. And I heard a story about in the Mets camp that an old couple went down and they had their tickets and they had their room and all of that, and they went down and there was no baseball, and apparently Buck Showalter was walking into the offices down in Port St. Lucie and saw these people and spent a couple, spent some time with them because he felt that they went all this way to come down, and because at the time there was still no agreement, he was being a spokesman for the team. So that's what the players are going to have to do a lot of, I think, in this spring training and this season. They're going to have to be better to the fans. They're going to have to try to win back the fans and not be obnoxious about it, and you know just put up with a lot of stuff because it does leave a mark. It hurts, it's hard to feel sorry when they talk about we're doing this for the younger player guy. Minimum salary. Give me $700,000 a year. I can take a few lumps. Now, what I think they should be doing is fighting more for the minor league players because they make dirt. They don't make anything.
Yeah.
Um, unless you're a bonus baby and get that high bonus, you're not making a lot of money in the minors. And those are the ones they should really be getting more, trying to get the wage up there for. Not once they make it, because then now they're in the elite anyway. And show me somebody that can't get by on $500,000 a year. I mean, there are ways.
Yeah.
So, but it is what it is, and they've come to an agreement. And how do you feel about some of the things? We're not fans of the universal DH, so I know you're against that. But 9 inning doubleheaders are back.
Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a
Yeah.
great thing. Opening day, April 7th. Let's roll through some of the changes here from playoffs 10 teams to 12. I could live with that.
Yeah. And they did
14,
away with the play-in game,
yeah,
the wild card.
14 teams would have been a little bit too much. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and there'll be no more tiebreakers. It says here no longer playing games, aka game 163, to decide playoff spots. All playoff spots will be determined through tiebreaker formulas. So no extra games, even though those can be exciting, and you know
Mm-hmm.
uh, we won't have that. National League DH. I guess one day I might come to accept a DH, and I know there's a lot of people that can't wait for it, but I don't know. I like the pitcher to bat. I always have. That's what I've liked about the National League. That American League, they seem to have these old age stars that hang around and stay on the DH, and I don't know. To me, I'd rather see all 9 players on the field play the game rather than have somebody just come out and pick up a bat. It just doesn't seem right to me. But like I said, maybe in a couple years that'll change.
Yeah, and the scary part about it is that kids don't learn how to field anymore. A lot of them, they're DH in little league, and if they're successful, that's what they're gonna play. And I don't, it's like playing half a game. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, a little artificial in my book, but
Yes, yes.
as you mentioned, the doubleheaders back to the 9 innings. No automatic runner start at second. That's great.
Yoo-hoo!
So so glad about that.
Yeah.
Um, Rule 5 draft has been canceled for this season. No word if it's going to be ever held again. But yeah, essentially, other than that, you have the pitch clock rule, which I'm not a big fan of. I think players should be able to make their own timing and, within reason, of course. But 12 or 14-second clock if runners are on base, I believe 19 seconds if they're not, um, or vice versa. I don't know if I got that right or not. But I
I
don't
think
know.
so.
Clocks in baseball with me don't mix.
Yeah, I think I think they're trying to get them used to being quicker. I was watching something the other day, and it had from I don't know what year the World Series was, but it was the Orioles and the Phillies playing, and
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that. Same
you
thing.
saw that with Cal Ripken Jr. up at bat, and I can't think of the Philadelphia pitcher,
Yeah.
and I think his longest pitch was 19 seconds, and that's with getting a new ball, rubbing it up, walking once around the mound. These guys didn't waste time.
Yeah.
They just got the ball back and they threw it.
Well, you
They
know what?
got their sign.
A lot of the times are the signs now. They don't get the signs right, so they have to go through
Yeah,
the signs. Then the batter steps out of the batter's box. Then he's back into the batter's box. It's a fine tuned thing. You didn't see many batters getting out of the box like they do today. It's like,
right,
oh well, if you throw me off of timing, I'm going to throw you off of timing. Then
right.
before you know it, you got a 2 minute section before a pitch gets thrown.
Yep, yep. And I thought that was fascinating. So that's probably where they get the times for, or as close as they could get it to that, something like that. Um, but I think again, then it's how did we get to the DH? It started down in the lower leagues and then eventually got to the major leagues. Now all leagues everywhere play it. Uh, Maybe that's the same thing they need to do with a pitch clock. Maybe if you start at a young age and you get the kids going faster, by the time they do get to the majors, they're used to doing it within a period of time. So you really may not need down the road a pitch clock, because they're just programmed to get in that amount of time. And I think that's probably the main thing that they're trying to accomplish now because they're not programmed. So they have to like almost reprogram these guys to try to throw quicker. But you know, um, it's something they feel they have to do, and I still don't understand how they want to. They keep talking about growing the game, growing the game. They signed a big contract with Apple TV to stream the games on Friday nights, I think it is. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't have Apple TV, and I'm not going to go out and get another program. Another fee on my bill uh, to get some games. I mean, I thought that's why they had MLB Network to put some games on. Or MLB TV, you can buy the package. Now they want you to buy another package on Apple TV for Friday night games. I mean, it gets, we already pay for our local games. We already pay if you want the MLB package. If you get MLB Network on your cable or wherever you get you're paying for that. I mean, it's to add something else like that is ridiculous. So how he's trying to grow the game and then cuts the minor leagues down is beyond me. But
Yeah.
they've got a plan, I guess. So
Yeah, as you said, everything's turning into a subscription all of a sudden. You got ESPN Plus. If you want to read some of the baseball commentary, a lot of the writers went to that service where you have to subscribe to it
yeah, the
now.
Athletic.
Yeah, the Athletic. So, yeah, there's a lot of different offerings with different prices that all add up. So, yeah,
Sure.
unless your pockets are deep, filled with money, you have a limited amount between if you have cable or Roku or anything else, there is a limit. Maybe if you're making that minimum wage of 700,000 in the MLB, you could spring on a few of these things.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if we could take it as a tax write-off.
I don't know. That standard deduction seems to gobble it all up these
Yeah.
days. With baseball finally back, well, as you said when we started the show, before we started the show, you were able to see some of the players down in Florida, in our case, where our favorite teams are, and just seeing that brings like a warmth to you. And we'll have a lot more today because it's the official opening day of spring training down there, and a short, 5 days before they start playing a game. By the end of the week, they'll be starting to play games. So
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that with the pitchers, bringing them along. And there's no expanded rosters that I know of for the beginning of the season, so that's a couple of oddities there. But yeah, a couple of days, and we'll be seeing some games, and it's nice to see the sunshine. We've got sunshine up here in the Northeast today, but very cold temperatures. So, yeah, it's great that it's back, and I think right now we're just getting used to the fact that it's back, and the frenzy that's going to be the next couple of days. I think we're going to still see a frenzy of free agents. There's still some big names out there, Rich. Freddie Freeman, Correa is still out there. Uh, probably the biggest guy that signed so far, the two biggest was Clayton Kershaw re-signed with the Dodgers, 1 year, 17 mil, and Carlos Rodon. I think he signed with the Giants. I don't know the details. I think it was 2 years. Don't know the money details. So, but there's a lot of big names still. Carl Schwarber's out there, and Anthony Rizzo is still out, and I think once one of those big guys falls, the other ones are going to go fast.
yeah, as you said, a couple big free agent names out there, and it's the big teams that they're looking at to make these signings still. I don't know how they have the salary cap in LA to even consider Freddie Freeman. They must be going to carve something out of that, and they don't want a $300 million payroll, I don't think. But that's sort of where the Phillies are right now. Between three players, they have $77 million committed to them, in Harper, Real Muto, and Wheeler. So, I mean, you can't go out and get a $25 million player very easily. You're going to have four players with $100 million plus devoted to them. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is, and but look, I mean, the Mets now they've got Scherzer and Lindor, and
DeGrom.
I think the Grom has an option coming up, so I'm sure he's going to look for more money, and I guess that's the name of the game now. We're back to the high spending free agents until they start falling, and then uh, I think they're trying to get a combination now and of farm systems and the high free agent cost wise, to finish off a team. But um, there's a lot of money out there.
Yes, there are. But nice to have the game back, and interesting to see some of the stories coming out of spring training. As you said, not very many days for the pitchers to get ready, but I assume that maybe the word was sent out amongst them that, hey, you better start throwing, you better be ready to go at any time because this sort of thing's going to happen. They're not going to lollygag and take as much time. But, one of the things, getting back to the agreement being reached, is the MLB said they were going to scrap a certain amount of games. That was all malarkey. That was all a smoke screen. Why not just scrap the games then? Because they did wait till that certain time to do that, and now they went back and said, "All right, we're going to play 162 games."
I think it was all part of negotiation. The players' union wanted to get a full year's salary, and I, you know, the beauty about that is if they have a doubleheader now for the owners, going back to the 9 inning doubleheader, it allows the owners to schedule them really as day night doubleheaders, and you're not jipping the fan. The fan's still getting a 9 inning game. Whereas last year, when it was the 7 inning, if you kind of felt gypped if it was a day night doubleheader with only 7 innings. This way, at least you're getting a full complete game, or what we've always felt was a full complete game, and you know, so they can get away with that. And I'm sure they'll do a couple of single, just one admission doubleheaders to keep that in line, and people still like those, so you have to throw them at the fans once in a while. I really think though they have to work on getting some of their costs down outside of the field, off the field. The cost of the parking, the cost of the tickets, even the cost of concessions and things like that. I think that's the key if they really want to grow this game, and especially this year to get people back into it after the strike that might be ticked off. And I'm not saying they have to go back to $3 box seats, but $20 box seat would be nice, or something, and maybe $10 for parking. That's a big pet peeve of mine. I mean, you pay $25 to park,
Yeah,
and you know, you go to a casino, Atlantic City, you pay $10, I think, for parking, but they park your car for you,
yeah,
and they bring it back. you know,
yeah,
here you got to park it yourself. Uh, what am I paying $25 for? A spot for 2 hours? It's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. It's
But when you get older, you don't want to walk. You can't walk a lot, so it takes mass transportation kind of out of the picture. And I'll park a mile away and just walk it. You can't do that, so you're really stuck. So it's really for the older fan and the families too, because you don't want to be wrangling kids through streets and city streets. We live in a city, or the ballparks are in a more city environment, so it makes it tough.
yeah, and that's what one of the articles that I wrote on my blog at fightingphillies.com right after the passage of the agreement. It was like the last paragraph of the story says, how about the fans? Nobody talked about them. They don't talk about $125 for a seat. They don't talk about the $25 parking. They don't talk about the $12 hot dog, the $15 beer. It's so you sort of you're bittersweet and happy that it's back, but do you have to keep on me now? This morning I went out and had breakfast at my local diner, and the waitress came over and she drops the menu, and it was all fresh and nice and clean looking. She's, oh yeah, this is a new menu. The prices changed, she said too. Like,
yeah,
is that not what's happening everywhere in this country? It's just
yeah,
like every time you turn around, oh yeah, we're raising your this, we're raising that. We had to add $3 here. It's coming out of your pockets. It's coming out of everybody's pockets. Like, I know it's inevitable for price increases, but everybody at the same time, the gas prices, it's just, there's going to reach a point where you're just not going to be able to afford to go to games, depending
that's
on your
it.
circumstances,
Yeah,
of course. But
yeah,
for the fan, the longtime fan that was able to go to a couple games, they're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Yeah, like you said, it's gonna go up at the ballpark too, and they've got to do better research because if you look, whenever like the Mets run a deal, sometimes I'm sure the Phillies do this as well. Um, if the I don't know, like if they've got two or three guys pitching and how many strikeouts they get that weekend or something, they'll take that percentage off of a ticket price, you know? So, and those tickets sell then. Because I remember I went one time, a couple few years ago. I think it was, I don't know, it was DeGrom was pitching well or something, and they took off 48% because his number was 48 or something. And it was hard to get tickets for those, for the next homestand because they were selling out every night because everybody was taking advantage of it. And
Yeah,
why don't you? It's like I always say, uh, these products in the stores, with the coupons and stuff. They give you the coupons and then the stores they used to years ago give you double and triple the coupons, and sometimes you get the thing for practically zero. Well, if they can do that, why not? Why are you having a sale? Why not just lower the price regularly? Why are you giving me a piece of paper to get the price lowered? Just lower it.
yeah,
It's just it's the same thing with the tickets. You got to run whenever you run these specials. People take advantage of it,
yeah.
and
And
I
if
don't understand. Just lower your ticket prices. You'll sell out pretty much every day.
and if you're listening to the podcast and not watching us, because we'll give away our age, don't think it's an age thing. If you're younger, if you're in your 20s, these old codgers talking about reducing prices and all. No, we're telling you that this is overpriced from the get go. And you may not realize that. And $100 to you, oh, it's $100. It's a ball game. It's hard earned money. It's money out of your pocket. So it's not an old people's thing. If you're younger and listening to our show, it's just, the right thing to do. It's entertainment. It's like going to a movie. Do you want to spend $50 to go see a movie? No. You shouldn't spend $125 to see a ball game either. It's a ball game.
Yeah.
So hang in there with us, younger listeners. We're going to save you money one way or another. But Gary, now that we're back talking baseball here on the podcast, we'll let our listeners know a little bit about themselves. We got 92% listening from the U.S. We're up to 2%. Big number there out of the United Kingdom. And all of a sudden, 2% Germany.
Wow.
So we got some German listeners out there. Maybe
Yeah.
people in the service possibly want to say hello to you.
Or the game, yeah, or the game is just spreading slowly across Europe, and that's a good thing to see. So thank you all for listening.
Yeah, 49% Apple Podcasts. And that's 50% of our listeners listen through Apple Podcasts. That's amazing. I know my Phillies Talk podcast is like 70% Apple Podcasts, but we have Stitcher being 4%, Podcast Addict is an app, 3%, Anchor Direct, 3%, and 41% listen through other means. So it's interesting. I'd love to know more about that other 41%. That's a big amount. Listening platforms, the iPhone 47%, Android 8, Mac 3%, and the web 3%. So thank you again for listening out there, everyone. And of course, our listener base spans anywhere from 18 years of age up to 60 plus. So thanks again for listening. And ladies out there, 6% of our listeners. So thank you for tuning in as well.
Thank you. Yeah, great.
So we're so glad that baseball's back. We're going to have a ton of stories. lining up for you. And Gary, I'll be honest with you, I took my vacation week. I can't get down to spring training. I can't get near spring training for less than $225 a night for like a rat trap place.
Wow.
And there's no rental cars. I can't go to spring training. I wanted to go. I would have amended any plans I had to get down there. I've been looking. I just can't make it because spring training sort of like collided with spring training down there with the recent announcement.
Break
And now all of a sudden, I'm blocked out. I don't want to spend that much money on a rat trap place, and I call it that because it's like a little motels want $250 a night. But on top of that, there's no rental cars available because of spring break. So
wow.
and
Well,
plus my ambivalence towards the agreement. I don't want to necessarily go out and follow like a sheep into the slaughterhouse with MLB all of a sudden.
well, I guess it is what it is, and we'll have to learn to live with it. And um, this is the way of the world now. It's crazy. It's ludicrous, and I had planned to do a show uh, before they settled, and to talk about how ridiculous that these guys are negotiating for these billions of dollars and millions of dollars, and here we got a war going on in Ukraine, and people getting killed and cities destroyed, and but maybe this is a nice diversion from all of that on the news. We get to watch a little bit of baseball now and take our minds off of that. But um, it is what it is, Rich, and I guess it's no different than the auto workers going on strike, or the coal workers, or years ago the steel workers, and you know anybody, the teachers going on strike in Minneapolis, I believe.
Yep.
Uh, it's just the way of the world now.
That's for sure. Well, we're so glad that it's back. We're going to have some probably some games to talk about on our next show, and for sure, I'm thinking we're going to have some signings to talk about. So can't wait for that. We'll be checking it out every day. And Gary, I'm glad you're back to good health, and nice to see you on the show.
Thank you. Always nice to see you, Rich, and thanks for the kind words. And yeah, I'm getting there. I feel better, a lot better.
Great. Well, we'll talk to everybody on the next show from the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Check us out on baseballtalkradio.com. Gary's podcast at metsmusings.com. And you can check mine out at fightingphillies.com. It's called Phillies Talk Podcast. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy spring training.